All right, so we are going to the desert. Let's take a look at this battle, see how things go. This is a first attempt at this battle, so hopefully I'm able to overcome it. Here I am just going to fast forward through this little spiel here. Sorry for the cursed music as a result of the speed up. There we go. So we did get the iron sword at the end of the daughter battle, which, that could prove useful. I gave it to my squire, who hasn't really been able to star in some of the last few episodes. Hasn't been able to shine in the last few story battles, so maybe that iron sword will give him sort of the leg up he needs to do a little bit more to contribute in these battles, but we'll find out in a little bit here. It does take most of the enemy units, aside from this monk, a while to advance on my team, so we're probably going to fire off a couple focuses for both, or for the chemists, squires, and thieves, respectively, among us. We'll let our guests sacrifice themselves, as they tend to do. Although, the other thing my thief might want to do is go for an immediate charm. So let's hope we get good compatibility there. 65, that'll probably hit. Yeah, perfect. It's really been useful in some of these early battles to have her stealing hearts as she does with that charming circus performer outfit that female thieves have. Or whatever you want to call it. It's interesting anyway. And then for whatever reason, male thieves kind of look like, I don't know, like fur trappers from the 1800s. Not really sure what they're going for there sometimes. But, it's a unique look. Ooh, our little temporary friend just fired off a crit there. That's really nice for us. So I find NPCs will very quickly prioritize smacking their friends back, the senses back into them and getting them to rejoin their rightful team. So that's what happened right away. But the nice thing is he didn't even use something like a rush. He did a full-on attack. So, if these guys want to just go ahead and hurt each other, we're certainly not going to put any kind of a stop to that. The knife phase with Chemist is always a little bit more painful compared to when they start to get guns. They don't exactly hit very hard, but obviously the main utility of a chemist is more so in the versatility of their use of items and their ability to do things like revive people so they don't turn into crystals. They're fantastic when it comes to battling undead enemies. And okay, so there you go. Good moment to shine for my squire finally. There's just so many cases for them. So how's the HP on that guy? He's full HP as well. See what sort of steel heart luck we well. Okay, we hit again. I'm 53. It's more likely to hit than not, but for all of you Final Fantasy Tactics playing veterans, I think we're all familiar with the fact that when we see something like 53%, we feel like it's more likely to miss than not. And actually, I really do like Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced too, and I probably will do some FFTA runs on the channel at some point as well. I'm not sure how much of an overlap there is in terms of viewership between the games in the series, just because they are such different games. I mean, they do obviously share the setting, and in a way, I wouldn't really call the settings similar in anything but name. But of course, the grid format. But the way that they play are so different. And one of the things you'll notice right off the bat if you play FFTA, if you never have before, is the lack of accuracy. Unless you're behind an enemy, you get pretty low chances of hitting a lot of the time, and so I feel like the missing happens a lot in FFTA. there's a lot of other differences we don't have to go over right now. But yeah, maybe we'll talk more about FFTA later or in another video. Alright, let's keep accumulating our physical strength. It used to be called accumulate, now it's called focus. Just so you guys know, even though I've been playing this War of the Lions version for, considerably, so there's a charm miss, considerably longer now than the PlayStation version that I started with over 20 years ago, I still sometimes really struggle to use the new names for things. Like, I always want to call him Algus. Especially the location names. This was like Sand Rat Cellar and Cellar of Sand Mouse and things, and I can never even remember what they call this now, even though they just showed it at the start of the battle. And the names are often like, fancier, because this translation is more of the Old English thing going on. And it's an interesting thing about the translation. This is kind of a ramble just because there's not a lot happening in the battle. In some ways, I actually, maybe because I grew up with it, I prefer the old translation, even though people said it was bad. I don't know that I think it was bad. I think in some ways the sort of mock Old English of the new translation can come across as even cheesier. But, I recognize the appeal of both. Okay, so we got our charm again that time. There's just some really kind of iconic sayings like "animals have no god" from Algus, or "blame yourself or God" from Delita in the first battle that happens sort of set, in the future, that happens at the beginning of the game, where you rejoin at the start of Chapter 2. I mean, maybe because the language was a bit more straightforward, it was just easier for me to follow as a kid. I think I was something like 9 years old when I got Final Fantasy Tactics, so the way I got it was I had a launch day PlayStation 2 for Christmas from my grandparents. So, my older sister and I were super excited that we had the PlayStation 2, and we got a couple games. One of the first games I bought was Final Fantasy Tactics. When we went to, it was called Electronics Boutique. It's, EB Games here in Canada. Way back then when the PlayStation 2 launched, and of course it had the backwards compatibility. And I remember getting Final Fantasy Tactics and having to ask one of my friends who had older brothers and who had played the game, man, I'm really struggling. I don't understand why I keep going back. And he said, well, actually circle is the main button instead of X for selecting an action in Final Fantasy Tactics. And so you just kind of had to get used to the fact that, it's such a silly thing, but as a 9-year-old, I didn't understand why there would be a different game controller layout. So shout out to the OGs that remember the circle button being the main button for FFT when it came out. I'm not young enough to have played it on original hardware, the PlayStation 1. I never owned a PlayStation 1, but I certainly played a lot of PS1 games over the years. So I don't think this battle is going to prove to be any sort of major challenge. I guess my chemist is kind of, on low health here, but again, he has the ability to heal himself. We're down to what? One monk and one knight at this point? So I'm going to use a potion. Guys, honestly, it's fun recording these runs with the live voiceover because, it allows me to actually kind of enjoy the battles a little bit more playing them. There's such a temptation when you're playing on an emulator sometimes to just use the speed up during the battles, especially if you don't think anything in particular, interesting in particular is going to happen. But, when I'm sort of, I don't know, you get a little bit more of the immersive feeling when you're playing it on the regular game speed and filming the footage. And just, engagement with other people who love the game. It's funny watching that little mithril knife fire off. It just kind of looks like a little thimble. Bust out the iron sword again here. Big hit. Fantastic. I'm not really sure if this is going to kill. He's probably... Yeah, okay. I must have focused enough times to really get the damage up. Another thing I'm looking forward to is when my thief gets, the ability to steal equipment. I think that's going to be huge because, I'm just thinking of this now. She could steal things like the magic guns for my chemists. That is going to be really awesome to have. What we might want to do is keep Mustadio in the party to be able to unlock the Goland Underground. And then we could get that one gun from one of the chemists in that, and we could get Barrack's gun as well. And then we would have 2 elemental guns for, one for each of our chemists. But that's getting way ahead of myself. So that's the end of the desert battle. We're going to leave things off there for now. I'm still doing just one video per battle at this point. I may change the format of the series at some point to splicing together footage of various battles from each chapter and doing more of like a chapter summary. But let me know if you prefer the individual video dedicated to each story battle like this. All right, thanks very much. See you guys in the next one.